This question says, I left a cult and struggle with religious trauma. How did you overcome? Still a process, still overcoming. So I think there are three phases to leaving a cult that I have determined. The first one is the only one we pay attention to, which is the crack in the brainwashing and physically and mentally leaving, right? And that is so intense and so much effort. And then we're like, we're out of the cult and we feel like we're done. Oh, ho, ho, are we not? I'm Daniella, scholar of cults, extreme groups, and extremely bad leadership. And I wrote this book, Uncultured, about growing up in the Children of God religious cult and then going cult hopping into the US Army, because that's what so many of us do if we refuse to enter the second stage, which is the decade of deconstruction. And it sounds, my friend, like that's probably where you are at. The decade of deconstruction starts when you start it. I did a full decade before that, just refusing to be traumatized and just being like, nope, I'm fine, I'm strong, I can do it. And then when I was 27 and a captain in the Army, I broke down entirely. And you can read all about that in Uncultured. And that was kind of when I was forced to start my decade of deconstruction, which took me a full 13 years. And one of the best things we can do starting deconstruction is just read. Just read books by other people. I've conveniently written one for you here, signed copies attached. I run a book club through my Matreon, Blink and Lio, and we do two different kinds of book clubs. We meet one week and we do cult memoirs, just reading other people's stories, noticing the patterns, noticing the trends, and getting the language and context to describe our own experiences, because that's probably one of the biggest things for you right now, is that you're struggling with religious trauma, cult trauma, group trauma, but you don't know how to explain that to other people. And even the mental health community has big holes when it comes to group trauma. But we have sociologists and psychologists who say that they think it's almost impossible to overcome cult trauma without understanding what happened to you, what that group did to you. And so this is why we also have Cult Theory Book Club, where we read 4 intense theory books. Right now we are reading Dr. Janja Lalich's Take Back Your Life, so that you can understand more of how this works, how they're all the same, first of all, and the patterns are just replicated by these abusers. During the decade of deconstruction, I highly recommend therapy if you can, but make sure you find an actual trauma therapist, even if you have to explain the trauma to them. I also have many people who have brought Uncultured to their therapist and been like, please read this so that you can understand a little bit more of what I'm going through. It's also on audio if that makes it easier for them. Some will be willing to and some won't. And then finally, finding community, right? It really sucks that this is going away, but I am dropping a thing here where you can sign up with your email account to stay in touch with me. I'm also on Wide to the Tube and I to the Gram as Knitting Cult Lady, and I will be wherever we all migrate to. But finding community, physical, in-person community, but also, if you can't find fellow cult survivors anywhere else, online community that can really help you understand it was a big deal and you are going through all of these different things. So reading, therapy might be a good thing to look at. Medications, a lot of us can really be helped. And generally, cults are very anti-medicine. So if you feel immediately opposed to that, it just might be another thing to think about. Getting something that can help you just lower the noise, lower the anxiety while you are trying to heal, I think can be a huge recommend if you do it and talk with your doctors. Those are my 3 big tips. Read books by other people. Come join our book club if you want. Find community, be that online or around you in person, that can help you while you're recovering. Talk to your friends, talk to your family about it. If you haven't been talking about it, start talking about it. Living closeted with our cult childhoods and pasts is one of the things that really hurts us, I think. This is similar for veterans when they get out of the military, that it's so hard to talk about what you went through and find other people that can understand it. So you start to feel very alone and very isolated. But I promise you, there are thousands, millions of us out here who do understand what you went through. So it's about finding that. Speaking of community, I mentioned my Matreon, and you can find that at the link in my bio. In case the site goes away, I am there, as well as other places. So it's hard. It's a hard, hard, hard decade, but I promise you that on the other side, there's real joy, real happiness. People ask me how I know I'm done with my decade of deconstruction. And I say it's because now I spend more time living in my beautiful, awesome life that I have built for myself out of the ashes of what I was given than I spend dealing with my trauma. And that's only been true for the last not even 2 years. So, you know, I just want to give people, like, there's hope, there's promise. There's also a really hard decade, but it is totally worth it. And I hope this helps.